Alright everybody, thank you for joining another game here at the Cerberus first game we got tonight for our casual league is Adriana and Christopher. Adriana is piloting Amber Sapphire and Christopher is doing Amber Steel. Let's see, as we're shuffling up, we'll see who gets to go first. I personally am a big fan of Amber Steel. I ran it at 2 different 1Ks in the last month and top 8 at both of them. So I very much enjoy the matchup, but I will say the one weakness I feel with the Amber Steel is the Amber Sapphire, which is what Adriana happens to have here today. So I would say the matchup is in her favor for sure. If anyone's not aware of the Amber Sapphire, the beauty is the giant willpower. It's very hard for Steel to deal with anything that basically has 5 health or more. If you guys are not familiar with the Steel package, it's in pretty much all Amber Steel is you have your big tanks, so they're dealing 1 everything. When she attacks, she deals 2 to something else. Grab your swords, deal 2 to something. Some lists run 5 to cannons. A lot of ones I've seen do not, just because honestly I think it's probably because of the uninkable. I'd rather have a body on turn 1. So the issue with that, once again, is if you have 5 or 6 willpower in the Amber Sapphire, it's very difficult to get through. So it's not that easy to board wipe compared to almost any other color. For example, like Emerald, a lot of their stuff has 2 and 3 health. Even Cusco, that everyone loves, only has 4 health. So much easier to deal with than just even 5 or 6. That 1 or 2 makes a huge difference. Also a big problem, if you've not played against Amber Steel, or I'm sorry, Amber Sapphire, is Eye of the Fates. That thing is very much MVP in my opinion. It makes it very difficult for your opponent to see how close you are to winning the game, because it's very easy to just, you drop an extra 1, heck you can even drop 2, and they're like, oh you're at 19, I'm good, go ahead, and boom, Eye of the Fates, play it, tap it, immediately win. And even stuff that's really small and minuscule, like let's say you have just 1 drop Stitch for example, that thing's questing for 2, if that's the only thing you got in play. So there's always a threat of lore. Okay, so it looks like Adriana's going first, and like I just mentioned, we got 1 drop Stitch. My understanding is she is not running the Rockstar Stitch. Amber Sapphire does not have that many of the low drops. It definitely favors the mid-late game for sure. So it doesn't have a lot of advantages getting that Rockstar out, and you can't do Whole New World because it's not Steel. So I think she's just running it there as basically a threat to take care of something that's early game. Okay. I'm going to ink Gramotala and play Aurora. And Adriana quest for 1. So, beauty of Aurora is not only can she quest for 2 with a 2 as a 2 drop, no different than Flynn for example, though a lot of people run in green, but she can shift, and that shift is very scary, especially against the Ruby Amethyst matchup because of the ward that she gives everyone else. Okay, so Christopher's got Prince Eric, so he's definitely prepared to be able to take out either of those very easily and still live. But Adriana doesn't seem to care, she keeps going, she's already now at 4 lore. So she's a little bit ahead, and like I said, this is where Amber Sapphire starts to get very scary. Once they hit that 4 or 5 drop range, they start playing things that are just way outclassed than most other colors. So Eric's going to take out Aurora. Very smart, because in theory, she could drop a resource and play the shifted Aurora next turn. So he's definitely making sure he's prepared for that. And we're going to smash the Stitch. Not so sure that was necessarily the best play, but clearing the board is always nice. Like I said, mostly because the Amber Sapphire is not running the Rockstar Stitch. Mickey, easy trade, only takes 1 damage back because Eric has Challenger. And Rapunzel, even though it's only 1, it doesn't matter. Drawing 1 card, once again 5 health, I'll say it 100 times probably during this whole match, is willpower is everything against Steel. So now she's up to 5. And Christopher's going into turn 4. She's up to 4 lore already, and she's for sure going to be questing for 3 next turn. So let's see how he combats this board that's just gonna grow by 1 card every turn. Alright, you forgot me. So she had 3 cards in her hand, now she's gotta get rid of 2. So it definitely hurts. But Amber Sapphire, it very much gets into top deck mode there for a little bit until maybe turn 7 when Stitch comes out or a good Rapunzel play, but it's 1 card a turn and it's just an unstoppable train. There you go, Maleficent, another huge willpower character. So she's now up to 7. And yeah, Christopher is gotta be sweating there a little bit because even a grab your sword, it's a big tink. All those type of things aren't gonna help him much. So if you look at his hand, he's got 2 Rockstar Stitch. Looks like a Rapunzel, maybe two Rapunzels and a Simba. Sadly, none of those things are going to help him take care of that board. And because she already has her board developed first, he's very much going to be coming back from this at this point. Oh, there's always a sad day playing a Rapunzel and not drawing a card. But he needs something out there and he realizes that, so. Alright, Adriana. Gotta play Hades. Bring something back from the discard pile so she goes and gets her Aurora. And she's gonna go for it. She's gonna empty her hand. Ink and Grandma tell her to play another Aurora, so oof. So she's at 7, she has quested for another 6, I believe. Yep, 13. And she has got lethal on board. Let's see. If he can grab his swords, he draws a Lilo. He could run Rapunzel into maybe Maleficent. Lets him draw 3 cards. Let's see what he does here. Yep, draws 3 cards. Sadly though, even if he did draw Grab Your Swords, which would take out a majority of the board and actually soften the game, promise he can't play it because he doesn't have any Sceners in play. Nor is it turn 9 for him to be able to play both those in the same turn. So, alright, looks like Christopher concedes and we're going to game 2. So this is, once again, this is a kind of a perfect example of what Amber Sapphire does, is it just goes wide. And if you make your opponent deal with you, it's very rare that, unless your opponent is really, really firing, which Christopher's deck can do, that you need to worry about them at all. You just keep going wider and wider every turn. You play another card, slow but steady, and by turn 5, and there you have 5 characters in play. And if everything is a larger willpower, it's very difficult for Amber Steel to take care of that. Alright, shuffling up for game 2. Looks like Christopher's got a really good curve, going 1 Lilo, 2 Eric, 3 Ariel, 4 Rapunzel after he swings in something with Eric. But it looks like he's going to put back, he's going to ink, you forgot me, plays Lilo. Okay, pass Adriana, she's going to ink Let It Go. And pass, so no 1-drops. She doesn't run many 1-drops, but usually that's fine. We'll see if that makes a difference here with Lilo putting that pressure on real quick. So Christopher's already at 2 lore. And he is going to actually pass, interesting. So maybe he's thinking about using the Eric as ink, because he now has 2 Grab Your Swords you can see in your hand, so he's probably a little worried he's not going to get much more ink, and having 2 unequals in your hand is not fun. Okay, so after Adriana plays the Garmaltella, goes back to Christopher, and he's playing Ariel. Look at the top 4 and put a song in your hand. And it looks like nothing. The rush version of the deck is a little more difficult to hit the songs, I'll say, because it only runs 12, I believe, which is A Whole New World, Be Our Guest, and Grab Your Swords. So, quest for 2 more. Christopher's at 4. Adriana's definitely getting a little bit behind with only 1 body on the field. But she's about to accelerate real quick because Mickey here's got a resource. Grandma Tella takes out Lilo. And just like that, the Amber Sapphire has 5 resources, which is very, very scary. Going into just turn 4 for Christopher. So Christopher has his Senior in play, which was very important. He didn't have that last game. A well-timed Grab Your Swords can definitely take out someone's board for sure. Looks like he's just going to, oh, okay. Not sure what he's doing there. Change his mind, I guess. Okay, and plays Tink. I'm assuming he was debating on attacking Mickey and playing a Rapunzel to he'll draw 1 card, and I guess he changed his mind and decided that 1 card is not worth playing another threat. Which is probably the correct play, because anytime I see small Tink, my first assumption is they have big Tink, and you definitely play differently for sure, because big Tink hitting the field definitely will dominate a board for sure. So Mickey's going to attack Ariel, put 2 damage on it. Rapunzel, yep. So pay 4, drop Rapunzel, heals Mickey and draws 2 cards. And this is where it seems like the Amber Sapphire is starting to now turn the corner, and we'll be able to actually play a character every turn going forward from now. We'll see how that goes. Okay. Christopher's turn. 4 resources. Looks like he's got 2 Grab Your Swords and a Rapunzel. And draws another Rapunzel. Rapunzel is a great card, but too many definitely doesn't help you very much. That being said, she's inkable, so it's very, very good compared to a lot of other cards in the game that are not. Okay. Going to choose to attack Mickey, and then basically do similar to what Adriana just did the turn before. The player Rapunzel to draw that card. Now the difference is Mickey hit her before, the turn before, so it actually had 2 damage on it, which is nicer, so it is definitely better than the 1 card draw. But, looks like Rockstar Stitch. Yeah, Rockstar Stitch in the hand. Sadly, he just doesn't have the resources Adriana does, so he can't play anything else. See what he does with Tinkerbell here, though. I think with 2 Grab Your Swords, okay, he's gonna quest. I would almost have thought maybe use Tinkerbell's ability, draw a card, discard a card. Because in a normal game, 2 Grab Your Swords is a board wipe. But with Amber Sapphire, everything has very, very large willpower. So it doesn't necessarily equal a board wipe. You need to also be swinging into things. So it's not nearly as powerful as it is in other games. Even though 2 Grab Your Swords is still very deadly to deal 4 to everything. So, instead of going wide, Adriana's going to do Eye of the Fates. Kind of double down on what she already has in play. Which might not be the worst play. Rapunzel has 5 health. It would be quite difficult to take her out. Even with all the creatures Christopher has in play, attacking Rapunzel still could not take her out. So she's going to quest for 5. I'm sorry, quest for 4. So even though Adriana started with a slow start and wasn't necessarily playing a creature every single turn and going wide, spent that time running Grandma Talla in, it's very easy to catch up, and it's very easy to start, like I said, playing those larger cards. So he chooses to sing Grab Your Swords, does take out Flounder, and finishes off Mickey, because he has some damage on him from Ariel the turn before. And does 2 damage to Rapunzel, yep. And the beauty of seeing Engraver Swords is you still have all your resources open. So now he's coming in their 6 with Rockstar. And that is a very scary board right there. Potential big tink. Adrian doesn't know what's in his hand, so he could immediately follow this up next turn with a whole new world. And because he had the Engraver Swords, Tink and Rapunzel were actually able to finish off Rapunzel. But as you see, still very, very difficult to deal with. He had to attack with 2 characters and play Engraver Swords just to be able to take out Rapunzel. And it's going to consistently go that way, I assume, most of the rest of the game, because as you see in her hand, you have Rapunzel, you have Aurora, those are also very large, and another Rapunzel. Maleficent, Aurora, and Rapunzel, all with larger willpower. But the favor right now is definitely with Christopher, with that Rockstar Stitch, if she can't take care of that right away. So she chooses to go with Maleficent, start building her board back up. And Christopher is kind of unchained right now. He can just go crazy if he gets that perfect hand of low character cost, sorry. So go start with Aladdin. Draw a card. Oof, it looks like he kind of stops it in his tracks. I've seen this happen where people play literally 5 or 6 creatures and just make the widest board you've ever seen and completely refill your hand by drawing 5 or 6 cards as well. So very, very scary. Rockstar Stitch, if he's on the field for literally just 1 turn, is all it takes. So he puts another arrow, brings on his hand. I believe it was Be Our Guest. Yes, Be Our Guest. Yep, he's going to ink it. A lot of times, Be Our Guest and then other versions that run Hakuna Matata, usually just you run them literally just as ink. So if you're used to playing another card game like Magic, for example, and you're just looking for a land, just a resource, that's essentially what she will do for you, which is not bad at all. So Christopher's board's looking definitely a little scary. If he starts questing, he's now at 13, so I believe he's at lethal for sure. With Rockstar and Rapunzel alone, that's 5 lore, so not looking good. One of the weaknesses of Amber Sapphire in this matchup is Amber Sapphire cannot board wipe. They do have some pretty good direct removal with 7-drop Hades and Singing Let It Go to take out individual large targets, but the second it goes wide, if it races you, how wide you go, they can't come back from it. They cannot control that board. Whereas you saw earlier, Christopher was able to wipe out 3 creatures basically by using the 1 Engraver Swords. So I'm seeing a line here where Adriana can take this out, especially with Aladdin as well, being able to quest for 2. So, yep, Adriana contemplating life and realizing there's just no way I cannot deal with that. I really want to. And it's a little sad because you can see with Maleficent and the Eye of the Fates, she can just start questing for 4, which is very, very scary. That ends up very, very quickly. But, like I said, the board gets too wide. There's not much you can do about it. Okay. The old run your character's face into someone else to heal it with Rapunzel trick. Definitely gets you some good cards, but sadly I don't think there's any cards in her deck that she can get that will even help her in the situation. She's going to play Be Our Guest. I'm not quite sure she's aware that he is at lethal as we speak right now. Because I don't think she would normally go through this process. Because even though Rapunzel's nice and get you more cards, sadly Rapunzel cannot sing very much at all. The best she can do is sing Be Our Guest, but her ink is still drying, so she couldn't do that even if she wanted to. So while we're here, letting Adrian think about wrapping up this game here. If you look there in the center, you'll see those two wood rectangles there. They're actually lore trackers. We try to keep it digitally so everyone can see it easier. And we're working on a new design to make it really large for our streams. But what we actually do at Cerberus, what we're known for, is custom engraving. So we actually designed our own lore tracker and lore counter box. You can kind of see it there at the bottom by Adriana's name, but it's actually a long rectangle box with dividers that actually manage and keep track of all your tokens that you can use for the game. So if you want to keep track of damage, you want to keep track of a status. If you give something bodyguard, or even the new set, we have resist already on our tokens. You can basically lay out some nice high quality acrylic tokens so everyone can see what you're doing. And the beauty, once again, I mentioned, is custom engrave. So we can actually engrave anything on the top of that box per a customer's request. So if you think that's cool, if you like some of the tokens you're seeing on the screen, definitely check out cerberus10.com and check out our store. We'd be more than happy to get you whatever it is you're looking for. I'm on anything, to be honest, when it comes to custom engraving, whether it be like a wood ornament or a sign or anything like that. But our specialty is definitely gaming upgrades for sure. So as we're going into game 2, it's now 1-1. I'm sorry, we're going to game 3, it's 1-1. And we didn't get the full power of Christopher's deck by it firing off on turn 3, turn 4, but it still definitely did what it's supposed to do, which is a really, really good curve from going into Lilo's very early game to hitting your aerials, which is getting you more resources. And once you start getting wide, do a couple grab your swords or Eric's into things, and you can very easily control your opponent's board. Adriana did not get to go very wide last game, as you saw. She basically was like more focused on the 1 or 2 creatures she had in play. And when she did get wide, sadly it was stuff with smaller willpower. So grab your sword was able to take care of her pretty quickly. So it looks like they're doing a mulligan. And looks like with Christopher, he is, okay. Christopher's getting rid of quite a bit of cards. Did not like what he saw. But definitely I saw a Rockstar Stitch, so that's always good to see. Worst case scenario, he's ink, but you got a few turns to draw into his key pieces to make him be able to shift. That's another thing I've seen with this deck that's really well is, let's say you only have 1 or 2 pieces of, we'll say that combo, that turn 3 combo. Well, you still have 2-3 turns to draw into it as well. So even if you only have a Lantern and a Rockstar Stitch, you potentially could draw the 1-cost Stitch by turn 3. So still very, very deadly, and not always the best idea to just mulligan assuming Stitch isn't coming out because you don't have a little Stitch or a Lantern. Because even worst case scenario, he is still ink. So it's always usually better to take that chance. So it looks like Adriana's got multiple Aurora. She has the 1-drop Lilo. I'm sorry, 1-drop Stitch, not Lilo. Christopher I saw had the 1-drop Lilo. Okay. Alright, so Adriana's going to be going first. She's going to ink one of her 2 Auroras and come out fast with Stitch. Which Christopher definitely doesn't want to see when he's got Lilo in his hand. It's always nice to see. See what I say right there? Russ mentioned before, Rockstar Stitch. He didn't have the small Stitch, but now he does. So he's just going to forgo Lilo turn 1, because that can easily be taken out by Adriana Stitch. And if the stars align, he will have Rockstar Stitch in play very, very soon. At bare minimum, turn 4. Alright. Adriana did not get her favored 2-drop Grammaltala, which is fine. Looks like she's thinking of doing, okay, she's going to go ahead and quest for 1. I think that's not a bad idea. If they run Stitch into there, then that's a very favorable trade for you, because you know you can't turn your Stitch into a Rockstar Stitch anyway. Passes and goes to Christopher. So Christopher Let's go into Ink Aladdin. This is where you can choose to go ahead and drop Lilo, keep that pressure on fast, or you can do Bodyguard Simba. It looks like that's what he's about to do. So he plays Simba, Bodyguard, and chooses to trade. Very interesting. Chooses to trade the Stitch. Maybe he thinks she does have the Rockstar Stitch, and if that's the case, then that worked beautifully for Adriana, because that Stitch is in there to do exactly what it just did. It's there to take out Lilos and little Stitches. So he did the job for her. Drops her Mickey, now has 4 resources going into her turn 4. Christopher's got multiple smashes, so he's definitely ready to be able to take out something in the next turn when she drops. We'll see what he does this turn though. He's going to ink one of those smashes, gives him 3 resources, and go ahead and play 0. So he's going to look at the top 4 for a song, see if he finds one, and he does not. I mentioned earlier that I ran a similar list, a couple of 1Ks in the past month, and the first one we went to, I played 5 aerials in one game, and not a single aerial got me a song. It definitely became a joke the rest of the day. It's probably the worst feeling ever to happen multiple times. Happened once or twice, that's fine. 5, that's not good. Okay, so Adriana is on her turn 5. We'll see what she does. She's going to attack Simba. And I'm going to guess Rapunzel, yes, that's Adriana's favorite move, for sure, as we've seen in this game already multiple times. Keep that card advantage. To keep getting more options. And it was actually smart of her to do that before she inked the resource, because she now can see 2 other cards base additional that she potentially would use the resource, instead of just using what's in her hand. So it's definitely a good play by Adriana. And she's going wide at the same time. Adriana is very aware of You Have Forgotten Me, which is in Christopher's hand now. And that's definitely one of the tricks she does as early as she possibly can to do Rapunzel, even if it's only for 1 or 2 cards, because she knows how much you can be punished if you decide to overextend and get your hand really small, because You Forgot Me will completely end you in the rest of your turns, because you are now top decking Nimbus immediately. Now she has options if he was to do it right here, for example. Okay, so he's going to pay 3 to smash Mickey. He didn't enjoy her drawing those cards, and goes ahead and plays Lilo. And he's going to quest for 2. I'm not so sure that was particularly worth it. I'm very aware that she does not have Rush, being an Amber Steel deck. But Ariel is very, very important to the Amber Steel deck, sing songs. And even though Simba is out there, it is damaged. And to risk Simba, going through Simba and getting to Ariel is a little scary. I'm not sure that was worth the 2 lure. Alright, so Adriana now plays Princess Aurora, the big shift one. So now Rapunzel has Ward, along with everything else that she has in play. And she's going to start going wide. Play Stitch. She quests for 2. So now it's all tied up at 3. And let's see what Christopher has here. Christopher's down to 2 cards. Not being ready for that Rockstar Stitch on turn 4, I think, is his big issue he's going to have the rest of this game, because he's now about to start top decking. So he cannot play his big tank because he only has 5 resources. He's going to make her discard 2, and she now has 1. Christopher now has 1 card left. So Christopher's going to go ahead and quest for 3, leave an aerial open, which I think is the correct play. Because Princess Aurora and Stitch can go right through Simba at this point. So Rapunzel, okay. So she's going to decide to trade Stitch into Simba. Rapunzel will take out Lilo, no problem. Still has 4 health left. She'll quest with Aurora, putting her up to 5. And then she's going to pass. So we saw Hades in Adriana's hand, but she does only have 6 resources. So I don't see what her other card was, but potentially that will, it wasn't uninkable or she didn't want to get rid of it. So Lantern, sadly a little late. He had that turn before. He could have dropped his Tink the turn before. But he's definitely able to play Tink next turn. Hades to take out Arrow. And now he's got, Adriana's got a very wide board that even with the big Tink is going to be very hard to deal with their very large willpower. So she's going to go ahead and quest for 4, putting her up at 9. 1 card in hand, which we know is big Tink. And now we have Little Stitch. He now can play both if he likes. Dealing 1 everything on her side. But at this point, I think Adriana just needs to race. Because even if Tink goes and takes something out, she's perfectly fine because she has more creatures. Oh no. So she just showed another Hades in her hand. I wonder what she's going to hit with it. And another Hades to Tinkerbell. And then she goes ahead and quests for 6. Puts her at 15. She's very much at lethal. I don't think Christopher at this point can draw anything. Even a Grabber Swords, he's top decking at this point, so he's only going to have 1 card. And that 1 card is a Ariel, so he can go get Grabber Swords. He does have enough to play it. But sadly, once again, the willpower of the Amber Sapphire deck just cannot be matched. Even if he deals it, and look, he even got it. He got Grabber Swords, which is great, which is the card you would want in 99% of the situations. In this case, it does not matter though, sadly, because dealing 2 to everything, looking at her board, that's actually not going to take out any creature she has in play, any character she has. Now, it does help Stitch, so Stitch can take care of something, but no matter which one Stitch decides to take out, it still leaves 6 willpower in play. And that is going to be game. Alright, so Adriana takes the win for this round. Alright, we appreciate everyone watching our games today, whether you're here in the store playing or just watching from far online. The streaming room that we now have set up is definitely something new for us. So any feedback you guys have is very, very welcome. We very much are always trying to make it better for not only the people here in the store, but for people like you who are watching on YouTube. So just kind of give a quick update on our next schedule. Team Cerberistan is heading to Lexington this weekend, and we are going to be participating in a 1K. We got about 10, 12 of us all heading out down there. And we're actually hosting our own 1K on November 12th, and that is in the Cincinnati area. So if you're close by, we'd love to have you come by. Cash prize, so should be a good turnout. Everyone's very excited to play. If you are interested in any of the tokens that you've seen, or our custom engraved wood boxes that we have for Lorcana, we take a lot of pride in designing those and try to make them as good as we can for any kind of player, whether you're competitive or casual. And if you like content like this, we can't stress enough how much we appreciate you watching. So please like, subscribe. If you want to comment below, what would you have done different in this matchup if you were either Adriana or Chris? Well, once again, we thank you again for watching. And don't forget, here at the Cerberistan, 3 heads are better than 1.